It is a distinct honor and pleasure to present to you our Walter Camp Football Foundation 2005 Distinguished American Arthur M. Blank.
Thank you very much. And before I do anything else, like so many other folks who have spoken tonight, I want to acknowledge my family and my associates that are here tonight. And my wife, Stephanie, and my daughter, Dina, and her friend Parker, Falcons defensive tackle, Chad Lavallee, a 2003 Walter Camp All-American team member, Falcons Vice President of Communications, Reggie Roberts, and Atlanta Falcons Youth Foundation Executive Director, Scott Dole. Would you all stand up, please, and take some recognition, because you say, if I am this distinguished American tonight, then you're all distinguished team members, and I want to thank you as much as I can publicly for all that you do to support me, either personally or in a professional sense. Even though I'm 63 years old, I've only just finished my 4th year in the National Football League, so I'm still a rookie in some respects when it comes to this business, to this industry. Tonight's a good example of that. When I was advised I was receiving this award tonight, I didn't know much about the event. I did know about the All-American team, but not much about the Walter Camp Foundation or its history, or the magnitude of this wonderful evening. Now looking at all of you here tonight and being in the midst of people like Joe Paterno, who was unable to be with us tonight, and Dwight Stevenson and Cornelius Bennett, who was a Falcon before I was a Falcon, and Reggie Bush, our Player of the Year from every perspective, and following other distinguished Americans like Pat Summerall, who I grew up listening and watching on key sports events across the United States, Bill Walsh, who was a mentor to our head coach, Jim Mora, and our offensive coordinator, Steve Young, a friend to me personally and a mentor of our quarterback, Michael Vick, and an outstanding commissioner of the National Football League, Paul Tagliabue. I've learned something tonight, and that this is a pretty big deal. And it's made even bigger because it's coming from the Walter Camp Foundation, the foundation that honors and that perpetuates the legacy of Walter Camp through the All-American team and the Foundation's charity work. It's hard to say how many lives Walter Camp has touched through his dedication to the sport of football. And it's hard to say what American football would be today if it were not for him. But let's reflect and think about what is football today. Beyond being the most popular sport and the most successful sport business today in the United States, football symbolizes many of the things that are important to all of us in our lives. A couple of years ago, Michael Mandelbaum, a professor of American foreign policy at Johns Hopkins University, published a book named The Meaning of Sport. If you read it, you'll recall he states that team sports provide 3 key satisfactions of life in the modern age. Number 1, a welcome diversion from the routine of our daily lives. In other words, a place where we're moved emotionally from where we usually are in our daily lives. Takes us to a different place. Number 2, a model for coherence and clarity. Sets up rules, sets up orders, something we all need in our lives. And number 3, the heroic examples that we can follow and to emulate. And that's our players and our coaches and the leadership we see throughout sport. Beyond that, football reinforces the importance of teamwork, surrounding yourself with the very best people, trusting them, and counting on them. And it dictates a dedication to being the best, the very best that we can be, both individually and as a group, and then finding ways to get better every day. The national football teams that do these things best every year go to the Super Bowl. At the Falcons, we compete for 2 Super Bowls every year. Obviously, the first one is the one that all NFL teams strive for. It's our ultimate goal every year. And trust me, everyone on our club, players, coaches, staff, they all understand their role in making that a reality. The other one is what I call the Super Bowl of life. It gets played on a much larger playing field. It gets played in the community of life. And here, there are no opponents on the other side of the ball trying to stop our progress. It's the Super Bowl that extends beyond the people in the Georgia Dome on Sundays to people in need, low-income and disadvantaged kids and parents who need us, beyond entertaining them, need us to help them. One of my greatest satisfactions comes from the impact we at the Falcons have had on our community through the Atlanta Falcons Youth Foundation, through our Family Foundation, through our players and staff's outreach work, through the many programs we have in place with our nonprofit partners. Last year alone, our players made a collective 826 appearances in the community on their precious little time off, supporting our club's efforts in a variety of ways and supporting many charities in these communities. They understand the role and the responsibility of a professional athlete off the field, and they willingly get involved. These young men, they do remember their roots. They do remember where they came from. And if I could, I would address these last comments to these young, brilliant men behind me. It's part of the message I'd like to leave with all of these young men as the All-Americans from this year's team. You are all here tonight because you have incredible talent, athletic talent, and mental skills that put you among the elite in college football. You should take great personal pride in that because we all know and understand how hard you've all worked to get there. Most likely, all of you, if not all of you, have desires to join professional football ranks. In addition to the money and fame that comes with being a pro athlete, some other things are going to happen to you. And here's my brief four-year perspective. First, you're going to work even harder, physically and emotionally. The speed of the game is faster, the intensity is greater, the competing talent is hugely better, and the season is longer, it's twice as long. Ask any National Football League rookie, and I've asked all of ours in the last 4 years, none were mentally or physically prepared for the National Football League. Second, come the opportunities for endorsements, the opportunities for new businesses, the opportunities for image building, the opportunities that go on every single list. My personal advice to you, and respectfully, is that you don't get distracted by these things early in your careers. Focus on football and take time to develop trust relationships, new trust relationships, before moving into these other areas. For some of you, that will mean coming to the realization that the people who have helped you so far may not be the people who can or should help you move forward. Learn the differences between real friends and real business people. Often they are different, not necessarily the same. Doesn't take away from people that you've spent your life with. But understand that they may not have the skills, may not have the capacities to assist you and support you at the next level where you're going to be challenged. Thirdly, you get put on a higher pedestal, even a higher pedestal than you're on tonight. And the media spotlight burns brighter, and there is no escaping that spotlight. So learn to support it, learn to work with it. It brings the games to our fans, and remember, without the fans, it is just a game of 11 on a side, football played in the street or played on the field. Fourth, and lastly, you do become a role model to millions of kids for your performance on the field and off the field. And it's a big responsibility, but it's an even a bigger opportunity. An opportunity to use your skill and your character to make a disproportionate difference in the lives of others, to turn the pedestal that you're on into a platform for positive change. Hayward Broom, a newspaper columnist in the early 1900s, once said, "Sports do not build character, they reveal it." I think he's partially right. My view is that sport does both. It builds character and reveals it. Each one of you will be remembered not just for your professional success, but for how you achieved that success, for how you treated others along the way, and for how you lived your lives off the field. Those things will outlast the statistics. So my message to you is to maintain a sense of humility and work just as hard in developing your character as you do in developing your playing skills. Decide every year that you'll dedicate yourself to winning both Super Bowls year in, year out. Thank you again for this wonderful honor, and I'm truly grateful.